This is an episode about homeopathy, and we're fortunate to have Dr. Laura Chella here with us today. She heads up the Homeopathic Association of South Africa. Welcome.
Thank you, Daleen. Thanks for having me.
Why homeopathy?
Why not?
And your interest in it?
It's actually a personal interest. I come from a big family, and I had a younger brother who was ill from a very young age, quite severely. And up until that point, I didn't know there was any other form of medicine, actually, than conventional allopathic medicine. That's how we were brought up. And when I saw the shortcomings and I saw the difficulties, and my parents started to look for other answers, did I discover a whole nother world of alternative medicine. And I had always wanted to be a doctor. I didn't know when I was young that I would have been a doctor of natural medicine. Right. And it has been my life path. And I think my brother's probably the biggest reason why I've become a homeopath. Yeah.
But you studied to be a doctor.
So the course is very similar to an MBCHB. They're offered at different institutions, one in Joburg and one in Durban. And it's a 5-year degree. It's a master's, and so it's very similar. We do 2 years of anatomy and dissection on cadavers. We do physiology, we do chemistry, we do pathology, general pathology, systemic pathology. We do diagnostics, so we do psychology, we do pharmacology, and then in amongst all of that is this weave of homeopathy and natural medicine and a slightly different way of looking at health, looking at illness, looking at disease.
Not from the point of putting a plaster on a symptom.
Absolutely. Trying to get to the core and trying to take each individual as an individual and to not focus on the disease per se, but to focus on the host or focus on that individual. Yeah.
What is homeopathy?
Okay, so homeopathy is an alternative system of medicine that was developed by a man called Samuel Hahnemann in about 1780, around about then, that comprises of 3 principles. The first is that like cures like. So let me give you an example to illustrate that. For example, if a child has a fever, okay, ordinarily in allopathic medicine, we would use an antipyretic. We would bring down the fever. All right. In homeopathic medicine, what we do is we look for a substance in nature. That can be an animal substance, a plant, a mineral substance. And there are other substances that we use, but those are the 3 main categories. And we find a substance that would produce the similar, if not the same, symptoms in a healthy individual. And then we take that as the ability of that substance to cure all those symptoms, and then we will use that to treat the individual suffering with the fever. So what we do, in essence, is that we assist the body in doing what it can naturally do, and that the child or the person can overcome the illness with the assistance of the remedies.
So another example would be something like somebody shaking as if they've been bitten by a tarantula, and you can give them a remedy called tarantula.
It's possible, but you wouldn't necessarily use it just for if they were shaking. So you can use, for example, Apis mellifica, which is the bee, and you can use it for a bee sting or another sting of another type of animal, as long as the principles of the remedy or the keynotes of the remedy are there. So it would have to be red and swollen, hot, and often that shining, glistening that you see when you have a bee sting. If the symptoms are there, then the remedy matches, then you would use it. Similarly, you could use it in a tonsillitis that presented shining, hot, painful, swollen. And you could use it for other aspects as long as that energy of the remedy runs through.